So, I lost the contest. And no, I do not feel bad about it. So, let's talk about it a little bit. Every year, my university holds a university-wide usual visual arts contest for the students participating with any kind of 2D artworks, original and made by them, obviously. The general motif theme is university landscape, and the students can interpret it in any way they want to, be it metaphorical, political, literal, critical, etc. And, of course, the real incentive to participate is the prize money. First prize would get around $700, second round $300, $400, and third would get around $200. Plus, the first prize winner would get a chance to have a solo exhibition in the University Council building next year. With an opportunity like that, who would dare skip it? When I saw the announcement for this year's contest around early March, I told myself that I'd participate and try to aim for the win, and that I'd start painting with a lot of time to be able to make something insanely good and have time to edit it and make corrections calmly. Of course, as usual, my plans did not go as planned. And I ended up getting caught on making class material for the class I gave, and I became so busy with that, the month I was supposed to start a painting, I didn't start. I started the painting just a couple of days before the last day for artworks reception. At least I knew the motif since the beginning. I just had to think about my proposal and materials. There was never any question for me from the beginning about what I'd do. The only image I had in my mind was of the street just behind the Confucius Institute. Huge trees grow behind the institute, straight out of a fairy tale swamp, with huge roots and overlapping branches and vines growing over the trunk and pouring from branches. The trees are huge, and they seem to embrace the sky overhead, almost blocking out the sun in the street, providing a thick cover of shadow under which to walk. Whenever I walk this way, I like to do it slowly, and take my time to observe the trees and all the bushes and foliage growing on either side of it. The trees frame the street perfectly, as if it were a fairy tale storybook composition, all square and perfect, with the street fading out into the distance. And this is what I wrote in the document proposal, which I'll translate for you.
朝が明るい雨に濡れてゆく This is a poem by Keijiro Suga that can be translated as soaked by the bright rain of morning. I think of this poem when I see that street, that roof of branches and green leaves that glows yellow on a sunny day. The trees beside the Confucius Institute have complex and magical shapes, with dozens of branches and vines that appear to be just a moment away from coming to life whenever I pass under the embrace of their shadow. These trees of peculiar shapes make me think of fantasy stories. They covered gently the street between the institute and the benches near the football field. Nevertheless, I find the street the most beautiful on cloudy days, when the light of the sky is so white and blinding that colors are washed to their pure states. There are no sharp dark shadows, and the true colors are revealed, softened under the reflected light of the clouds. For me, there was never any other option of scenery to paint for this. My work aims to evoke a feeling of magic and wonder in the ordinary. I took inspiration from Japanese art, for which I have great passion and often find myself submerged in it in my studies of the language and culture. I'm someone who stops to observe the trees and birds every time I walk to the street on my way to class. I have fun watching the doves pecking, the grackles looking for worms in the grass, and the tiny sparrows, not often seen there, jumping amidst the foliage. These birds that so amuse me are found in my work in peculiar forms. Maybe in the world of my painting, birds are people. Or maybe the souls of birds are seen from the other side. In other words, in that world we do not see, the souls of birds walk like us on the streets, ignorant of our existence. just like so many of us ignore theirs as we walk down the street.
I had bought the papers months before starting. I had decided to work using my Japanese gansai as a fundamental for my work. I knew it would make it different from everybody else's, but it was a calculated risk. Judging by the previous winners, I had a general idea of the preferences they had. However, I was unwilling to sacrifice my identity as an artist and my way of doing things just for the prize. What is really the point of winning if I'm not winning with my own art, if I'm just making contest art? I was going to go my own way and paint something very me. At the core of my being is story writing, and it means that the way I create art starts from there. My painting would look like something straight out of a storybook, soft and watercolory. My aim was to get the atmosphere to suck you in and give you a feeling of calm magic. A bit of childlike curiosity, really, like the one I felt when I walked that path. I had to cut the paper down to the right size first, though. I sketched hesitantly with fear laid over all my gestures. Not fear of not winning, but fear of it looking bad. It took some trying and giving it a rest before I considered the sketch good enough to line. There's something in the process of making a gansai painting like this, inspired by Nihonga works, that I find so satisfying and fulfilling to my heart. Giving time to the ink making part, grinding the ink stick on the stone and hearing the slight creaking it makes as it flies over it, the swishing of the ink as it mixes with the water, and of course the hesitant first line with a deathly still hand as the color opacity of the ink I made is revealed. Before I started my work and during my painting process, I looked a lot at Kazumatsu Shiro-san's paintings as my reference. His work portrays such a delicate mastery over light and detail, subtle yet powerful in presence. Exaggerated perfection of details is not necessary. Atmosphere in the simplest, truest forms of it is the key. And that was something I wanted my work to have too. Not perfection of detail or realism, but atmosphere. A feeling of a setting, a feeling of weather, a feeling of wonder in the fading light and the shadows of leaves. The line art is always the hardest part to get through, I think, because you're aware that a small mistake could be the end of your work. I was extremely careful with it, and even with all my caution, I still make mistakes. It's kind of inevitable making mistakes. Art is perhaps one of the only professions, in fact I'm pretty sure it's the only one, where 100% success turnout of a production is not guaranteed. Not even 50% of the time. Not even 25% of the time. Because it's not dependent on knowledge or comprehension of concepts like in math or science, or memorization and reasoning like in law or medicine. It doesn't depend on machines like in factories or some engineering professions. It is solely dependent on the you at that specific moment in time. A changing mood, a small injury, a subtle gesture, some life event, any little thing that happens to you specifically as a person changes the kind of art you dish out that day entirely. And of course, the success rate is also dependent on its audience, if it sells or not, if people like it or not. It is something entirely dependent on people's identities. And I think that's part of what makes it so magical. I decided that the background had to fade into the distance, and the most detail would be closer to the viewer and in the center, which would accentuate the effective perspective. Foliage is very hard to paint, I think. It's absolutely the hardest motive. And it's one of the telltale signs of AI use. Because not even AI can do it properly. Humans decide how to render it in many different ways, and we do it differently every time. But it makes sense because we understand the structure of the branches and how it overall should be connected. Foliage in AI images is always fucked up if you look at it. Always, no exception. Branches come out of nowhere, leaves float and merge into each other unnaturally, branches and trunks are distorted, etc. Foliage is, like line art, one of the things that can make or break what you're doing, I think. You have to look for a careful balance between abstract and real when you render foliage. Too much detail, it would look like a zoomed-in photo, not like something you're looking at. Too little, and it might be like a tree you once drew as a 6-year-old child, just a mass of green. I always have trouble with foliage. There's just so much visual data, even with just a little bit of it. That's why managing abstraction and stylization when doing foliage is so important. Not even in real life do our eyes see entire trees in all detail all the time. Most of the time, we see maybe one area in detail and the rest is blurred, abstracted by our eyesight. And that's only if we're looking in its general direction. If the focus is something else, the tree is gonna look like a mass of greens, yellows, and browns with some lines under. I tried to start with the easiest bits first so I could build up some courage and confidence, and then tried my hand at painting the foliage. I absolutely loved painting this. The line art kind of faded underneath, the paint in some areas, so I had to go over it after the paint was dry. And this is how it turned out. I absolutely loved the process, though there were some stressful, scary parts in there. It was one of my favorite works so far. Gansai and watercolor are some of the materials that I feel best suit me, and I find them very gentle on my heart. I have no regrets, except maybe having started out with only 4 days to finish. I would have had more time to explore what I would do with really the foliage heavy detailed areas, but it's okay. I like how it turned out. I love it. Now, the contest. I didn't win, obviously. I waited a couple of weeks for the results, and with bated breath and a constant need to check my emails, I received the result announcement sometime later. First prize was a photo series. Second was a digital painting of a blurry building on fire. And the third was an abstract painting that, honestly, I'm still not sure what it was. I think it was like the sky themed through the leaves. I don't know. I didn't win this time. And sure, the first couple of minutes after reading the email, I felt down in the dumps, like a failure. Like, what was my art not good enough for them? Sure, I knew it was very different from everyone else's, but isn't that kind of the point? To make art that is different? After all, no two artists are the same person. Then I looked at the winners and stopped feeling bad about it, because I would never make art like that. And hear me out. Hear me out. I knew from the start that I was taking a risk with my style in particular and interpretations of the theme. I knew they had particular specific references on style and interpretations, going for a more academical style that was often critical or political in some way, something that stated their opinion on the university or a situation in the country that influenced it. I had been the one to refuse to bend to that. No one told me to do that. That was all me. So it's on me. And that's okay with me. I would never sacrifice my identity as an artist, that which makes my style and interpretation of themes what it is, for a prize. It's my life motto at this point, really. No matter what, I'm never gonna change myself for others. Or rather, give up parts of myself for the sake of others. So, although I lost, I have zero regrets. I believe that when an artist enjoys the process of making an artwork, that energy can be felt in the result. I think that comes across in this one. I enjoyed it and I love the result. Even if I lost, I wouldn't change a thing about it. It's a good work. It's a good work. Though different from the standard. It's more of an illustration than a political acrylic piece, and that's perfectly fine with me. It's more important to who I am to try to pull the observers into my painting with atmosphere and storytelling. That's the kind of person I am, and the artist that I am. Descriptions and setting makes my creative works mine. It comes across in my writing when I work on my novels, and it comes across in my art too. Descriptive storytelling that draws you in is the core of my soul. I've never sacrificed that for contest. So, yeah, I lost. I'm a bit bummed because the solo exhibition next year could have changed my life, and the prize money would have been a welcome support for the fair expenses for, the December fair. But it's okay. It's not the end of the world. There are many paths to my dreams, and this door in particular is never closed as long as I continue to participate every year for as long as I'm a student. Being different people is what makes us good artists. To all the young artists out there, remember to create what you want to create the way you love to do it. How it makes your heart sing. Never sacrifice that for another's comfort or acceptance. So, yes, you've seen what I did, and I've told the story, so diary entry number 3 concluded. Thanks for watching.
Hello, it's editor me. Oh my god, this one came out really late. It's the first time since I started doing this more consistently weekly that I haven't been able to upload right on Friday. As you can as you could probably tell, I had a lot of problems with the audio, like a lot of them. Hopefully that problem is fixed and it won't happen again next time, but fucking Christ, I had such a horrible time trying to fix the audio, so yeah, sorry about that. We had some issues with the recording, but yep, that's it. So if you got this far, thank you very much for watching the whole video. And if you like art and, you know, video games and nerdy stuff, anime and all that, you know, you can always follow me, subscribe. Don't forget to like and comment. It's always very much appreciated. And I got a small important notice to give you. Important news for the section of today. I must tell you that I have decided that I need to take October off, or at least in the sense of, like, I already have all the content planned and actually have recorded most of it, but I won't be able to sit down and edit it and upload it weekly. Many things have come together and they're happening all in October at the same time, like 6 different very important things, and they're all happening on October. And it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of, like, some of them, like, they're all pretty much life-changing in different ways, and yep, it's a lot. I'm nervous, but I'm really excited, but it means that I don't think I can keep up with the editing every Friday like I've been doing, at least for October. So this is the last one for now, and you will see me again in November, but you know, if you follow me on Instagram or on Tumblr or on Twitter, I am most active on Instagram, so you'll keep seeing what I'm doing and probably see sneak peeks of, you know, the next videos and stuff, because yep, a lot of things are happening in October, so yep, you just won't see me here on YouTube for a while, but I'll be back in November. So yes, thank you for watching, and it's time to say goodbye for a while. So bye.